The crossroads of the Middle East. Refugees pour out of Iraq and into Syria along a 375-mile-long border. More than 1.5 million so far. And the United States alleges terrorists cross the other way, 60 to 70 every month.
Syria continues to be a transit station for al-Qaeda and other foreign fighters on their way to Iraq.
Middle East terror. Do all roads lead to Damascus?
These are false allegations.
Is Syria supporting violence in Iraq and elsewhere in the region?
What interest have Syria in having chaos in Iraq? Chaos is contagious.
Or is it key to a solution? America in Iraq, the road ahead. Good evening. I'm Katie Couric in Damascus, where today I had a rare exclusive interview with one of the key players in the future of this region, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Also tonight, they're considered one of the top special forces in the world. Would you believe they're Iraqi? And he was larger than life, a tenor who made hitting the high notes look easy, remembering opera legend Luciano Pavarotti.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric reporting tonight from Damascus.
There is a lot of news in the Middle East tonight. A new report says Iraqi security forces will not be able to take control of their country anytime soon. Not in the next year and a half anyway. We'll have more about that later. Meanwhile, today officials here in Damascus said Syrian air defenses fired on Israeli aircraft after they violated Syrian airspace in the northern part of the country. Israel had no comment on that, but it's a reminder of the continuing tensions in the region and of the pivotal position of Syria, bordering on a number of trouble spots, including Israel, Lebanon, and Iraq, a crossroads for terrorism. For many extremists operating in the Middle East, there's one hub, one road where most paths cross: Damascus, Syria, where a diverse mix of terror organizations blacklisted by the U.S. government converge to find refuge and the support of President Bashar al-Assad. In total, there are 15 various extremist groups based in Damascus, and many more who come through for backing and support. They range from the small secular Palestinian-backed PFLP to both Sunni and Shiite Islamic fundamentalist groups. There's Hezbollah, the largest and best-armed militia in the world, financed by Iran, supported and used by Syria as a proxy army inside Lebanon, and since last year's war with Israel, hailed as a legitimate resistance movement in the Arab and Muslim world. And the largest group based here is Hamas, whose Islamist Green Revolution swept to power in Palestinian elections last year, and then seized control of the Gaza Strip after ousting the pro-Western Fatah forces in violent street battles. Earlier today, we met with Hamas leader Musa Abu Marzouk, who once lived in the United States, where he had been indicted for terrorist financing and is listed as a specially designated terrorist by the U.S. Treasury Department. Why do you think the Syrian government has offered such strong and public support of Hamas?
We're facing the same problem, the same enemy.
Israel?
Yes, of course, Israel.
For people like Marzouk, Damascus is a safe haven where extremist leaders are granted diplomatic immunity, along with channels for arms smuggling, banking, and logistical support, where the three allies in the struggle against Israel and America are everywhere on display. But most threatening of all to the U.S. are the hundreds of al-Qaeda foreign fighters recruited throughout the Arab world who traveled to Damascus, where they're met and escorted across the Iraq border to become human bombs.
The goal of Syria has been to frustrate the American project in Iraq and bleed the American forces out of Iraq.
Charged with fueling extremist fires to the east in Iraq, to the west in Lebanon, and to the south in Israel, President Assad has become one of the region's greatest jugglers, But it's a game that has left him increasingly isolated and dependent on his one strategic ally in the region, Iran. I sat down today with Bashar al-Assad at the presidential palace in Damascus. He denied U.S. allegations that Syria is allowing terrorists to use his country as a point of entry into Iraq.
What do, those terrorists in Iraq? They kill civilians, they create chaos. What interest have Syria in having chaos in Iraq? Chaos is contagious. If we help the chaos in Iraq, this means we work against our interest. So we do our best to control our borders, first of all for the Syrians, second for the Iraqis, third for the region.
You say that chaos does not work to Syria's advantage.
Exactly.
Does that mean that you support a stable democratic Iraq?
Definitely. For our interest, first of all, and for Iraq interest, second. Otherwise, the whole region, and maybe later, indirectly, the rest of the world will be suffering. But we'll pay the price first, and we are paying the price of the chaos in Iraq today. So why not to work if it's in our interest? This is definitely, and this is announced position of the Syrian politics.
Bashar al-Assad was thrust into Syrian politics by a twist of fate 7 years ago. A car accident killed his older brother, who was being groomed to succeed their father, President Hafez al-Assad. When Assad's father died, Bashar, who was then training to be a doctor, was catapulted into the presidency at the age of 34. There was hope in the West that he would be at the helm of a new, more pragmatic generation of Arab leaders.
The President of Syria and Mrs. al-Assad, Your Majesty.
And early on, Assad made conciliatory gestures towards the U.S., condemning the 9/11 attacks and cooperating in the war against al-Qaeda. But since then, amid charges by the Bush administration that Syria has increased its support of extremism, relations with the United States have deteriorated. The Assads represent something of an oddity in the Arab world, a ruling family from a minority Shiite sect in a primarily Sunni country. But critics say the Assad regime's stability has been built on brutal repression at home and the support of terrorists abroad, giving rise to Syria's reputation as a rogue state. So you support the U.S. efforts to help establish a democracy in Iraq?
If they do, but they don't do. They don't do it. There's no effort. They only talk about military, numbers of soldiers. There's no serious political process supported by the Americans so far.
But I was in Iraq, in Anbar province. President Bush and his other top officials were meeting with Prime Minister Maliki and his top leaders, trying to move democracy forward. Why do you say there's no political process going on?
We're talking about the results. It's getting worse every day. Nothing is better. Sometimes it gets better, but it's like flash in the pan. It just disappears. It's transient. We're talking about the results. The chaos is worse. The killing is worse than before.
Let me ask you about the Damascus airport.
Yeah.
It is considered a major point of entry for terrorists going into Iraq. And you have been highly criticized, Mr. President, for not taking greater action to stop that from happening. Why haven't you? Why haven't you gotten control of your airport?
It's not the airport problem. It's not related to the airport. This is, again, another false allegations. They've been harping on this bogus claim for years. But actually, the terrorists, if they want to come, they don't have to come to the airport. They can cross any border, anyhow, by any means, to go to Iraq.
You're telling me you have no evidence and no knowledge that terrorists are using Damascus International Airport as an entry point and then going to Iraq?
No, I didn't say that. I said, if I wanted to continue or elaborate, we caught many coming from the airport, but most of them, they don't come through the airport. They came through the illegal borders, and we caught them.
Let's look forward. Do you believe that U.S. troops should withdraw from Iraq?
Definitely yes, as a principle. How and when, this is Iraqi issue. We cannot decide it as Syria.
Are you concerned, though, Mr. President, that if U.S. troops do withdraw and do it too precipitously, the country will break out in an all-out civil war?
Yeah, we have to take the context of the events since the war, after 4 years and a half today. Every day is getting worse. than before. So I cannot say that the American forces will bring stability to Iraq. This is for sure. Some say if they leave, it will get worse. Maybe. So this is not the debate. As principle, they have to leave.
Do you want to see America succeed in Iraq?
My priority now is the stability in Iraq. Doesn't matter if the United States leave today or tomorrow. My priority is the Iraqi people and my country. And of course, if the successful means political stability, we don't have any problem because we support any country in the world, including the United States, in succeeding in Iraq in that regard.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Tomorrow, we'll talk more with President Assad about his relationship with Iran, troubling to many, and about the use of his country as a transit point for terrorists. There's more news from Damascus ahead, including the efforts to preserve an ancient language, the language Jesus spoke. But up next, Harry Smith in New York with more of the day's news, including the death of the maestro, Luciano Pavarotti.